The things I'm going to share with you here are going to serve as a cautionary tale and an opportunity for you to right the wrong in your life or in the life of someone that you love, right? So let's jump into it. Thing number one, choosing the wrong spouse. In fact, they've done studies on this over and over again, and the number one determining factor of a man's success is who he chooses as a wife. And the reality is this. When you choose someone as a wife, are you choosing someone who is going to be a believer in your dream, who is going to advocate for you, who is going to be the wind in your sails, who is going to be your support system? And hopefully you're going to do all of that for her as well. Or are you rescuing someone? Are you the type of man who is the Captain Save-A-Ho, for lack of a better term? Are you trying to rescue her from, because she's broken, she's damaged, and she is codependent on you, and it feels good in that moment while you're dating her, so next thing you know, you put a ring on it, and then she is chaotic. She is sporadic. She is not a supporter of your dreams. She is emotionally reckless. And therefore, every time you try and launch a business, you try and do something great, you try and live your life's purpose, you have to deal with the chaos that is your spouse. Now, obviously, this goes the other way as well. How many women try and marry men who are just like their dads, who are broken, who are mean, who are angry, who are assholes. So they are attracted to that kind of man because they want to fix him, and they realize that they are now living a life of unsatisfactory life. They don't have a modern day knight as a man. They don't have a man who's a great protector, who's a provider, who is a gentleman. And they're like, shit, man, I didn't sign up for this. Well, you kind of did. You made a choice. So choosing the wrong spouse is one of the determining factors of failure. In fact, the number one highest determining factor of failure. So thing number two, vice dependency. Let's face it. There's a lot of vices out there, and some of them come off as very harmless, right? The occasional drinking, the, hey, I just smoke weed occasionally, watch a TV show every now and again, or I just watch, sports all weekend long. But how much of those little vices are there to help you escape and to help you cope with your reality? I'm not saying don't have fun, but I'm just telling you, if you are conditioning yourself to get dopamine hits from things that are not necessarily related to achievement, hard work, thinking through a problem, launching a business, building a business, serving your family and your community, if you're getting cheap dopamine hits from booze and weed and television and food and alcohol and pornography, gambling, is it really worth it, right? These are vice dependencies. Now, on the flip side, look, if you are straight up addicted to pornography, if you're addicted to gambling, addicted to food, addicted to nicotine, addicted to alcohol, drugs, like you got a bigger fucking issue. Like you are an incongruent person with the man that you want to be. Am I right? Like every single one of us inside, through consciousness, we know exactly the type of man we want to be. Like you know exactly the type of man you want to be, the core values you want to carry, the character that you want to have, how you want to show up, how you want to articulate, how you want to look, how you want to dress, how you want people to perceive you. All of these things on a micro scale is a non-issue. On the macro scale, over years and then decades, is how you ruin your life, is how you look back when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and realize this is who I was supposed to be. But instead, I'm way over here because of these micro decisions I made to get addicted or to at least get dependent on vices that didn't serve my life. Thing number three that men do to ruin their life is they settle in a profession. They settle in a profession and they don't pursue their life's work. They go, well, I've got a wife, I've got a kid, so I need to create this income. I need to get a paycheck coming in on a consistent basis, and it comes with health benefits and vacation pay. And I get it, 401k and all that stuff. You settle in a profession that you're not necessarily excited about. I'm not saying like quit your job tomorrow and put your family and your livelihood at risk. But what I am saying is, if you're doing something and you're in a state of just being this robot, coming in and mindlessly working for an organization that you don't necessarily get value from, that doesn't necessarily fill your cup, what can you start doing on nights and weekends to start creating that purpose-driven work, to start figuring out what you want to do, either by working for another organization that is more aligned with your life's work and purpose, or creating your own business that is aligned with your core purpose? Because a man who is settling into a profession and not pursuing their life's work is a man who is slowly committing suicide. I am convinced of that. The slowest form of suicide, the slowest form of death, is to be doing something as a vocation that is not your life's work or passion or purpose. And it is just there to make money and to feed your family and put a roof over their head. I get it. It's commendable and admirable, but man, it sure is a great way to ruin your life in the long term. Number 4 of 7 things that men do to ruin their lives. They complain. Listen, I'm not saying that you should internalize everything, but I am saying if you're the dude that complains and adopts this victim mindset, but you don't do anything about it, then you deserve the suffering that you're experiencing. You cannot complain about things. Complaining about things, all it does is it's like throwing oxygen on fire. So to be unhappy about something is very reasonable. To complain about something is reasonable. To complain and be unhappy and not do anything about it is stupid. It is being a victim. And I know you, my friend, are not a victim. And I can tell you this right now, people around you aren't going to tell you. But if you're like, man, why do people not want to hang out with me? Why do people kind of distance themselves from me? If you're that low tone, low energy, complainer, victim mindset dude that's just kind of every time people go, hey man, how's it going? You're like, oh, hanging in there. You're the hanging in there guy. Hey, how's it going, bro? Hanging in. Think about that little saying. Everybody adopts that fucking saying, but hanging in there, I just picture someone off a cliff, white knuckling, holding on, just hanging in there, man. I'm just hanging. Life is not meant to be hung in there. Life is meant to be experienced. Life is meant to be enjoyed. Life is meant to be challenged. Life is meant to have suffering and adversity, but all of life should not be suffering and adversity. There is joy and fulfillment and significance in life, and if you don't have it, if you're just hanging in there, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're slowly putting out your fire. And by complaining to everyone, and I'm hanging in there, man, thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's the weekend. Don't be like that, man. Don't be that person, because soon you end up being the Eeyore. Like Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore, that little depressed, sad, pathetic donkey. Hey, Eeyore, what's going on? Oh, I don't know. Just getting by. Who the fuck wants to hang out with that man? Not me. Not you. So fucking flip the switch and do something about it. Thing number 5 that men do to ruin their lives, and it is not sticking with the shit that you say you're going to do, not finishing what you start. When a man does not stick to the things that he says he's going to do, like you got a business idea and then you launch it, and before you start making money and it starts getting traction, you just let it go, and idea fairy comes and you go on to the next thing. You're creating a pattern and a habit. Each time you start something and you don't finish it, 1, you're losing credibility with yourself. You're losing your own reputation. You lose reputation with yourself and others. People go, wow, that guy has a failure to launch every time. He starts something, he tells everyone he's got a new idea, he's about to make this change, he's about to lose weight, he's about to improve his marriage, he's about to stop drinking, he's about to start making money, he's about to impact the world, and then you stop. You stop before the thing happens. Here's a rule that I have. When I start something, I finish it. Like, why have a short attention span where you start something and you don't finish, and soon you create this pattern and people get to know you as the person that starts and never finishes, like the false start guy. I never want to be the false start guy. I have a rule for myself. When I start something, I finish it unless an advisor or two who I trust, love, and respect tells me it's a bad idea. And then I just move on, dump it, and don't think twice about it, even if I lost a lot of money. And that's happened to me before. Thing number 6 that men do to ruin their lives, and it is when they don't have core values. They have no non-negotiables. They don't have a line in the sand. And here's what happens. When you don't have core values, when you don't have non-negotiables, you begin to just kind of agree with everything. You become the slippery slope where you're just this pushover. And over time, you begin to build resentment towards all the people that you agreed with, but you secretly didn't agree with them. And therefore, you begin to resent them. So if you have core values, if you have non-negotiables, if you have a line in the sand that you're willing to draw on certain things, then guess what? You now become the kind of man who is sure-footed and who is confident in his path in life. And thing number 7 that men do to ruin their lives is that they don't keep a brotherhood of like-minded men around them. They don't have a band of brothers. They are not part of a tribe. The thing that men do that really ruins their life is that they live like an island. You act like a lone wolf. You are not meant to be a lone wolf. You are not meant to be an island. You are meant to find like-minded dudes who share your core values. Yet another reason to have core values and non-negotiables. Because if you're like, dude, these are my core values, these are my non-negotiables, this is how I roll in life. I'm an extreme, unreasonable, impatient motherfucker that wants to make a lot of money, be fit and jacked, be self-actualized and self-disciplined, and do a lot of good for humanity. And I find other dudes like that to connect with. That's my tribe. That's my band of brothers. That is the brotherhood that I belong to. Like, that's why we have that modern day night project brotherhood. All of a sudden, the dudes don't feel like islands anymore. You're not meant to be an island. From the beginning of man, beginning of time, we were tribal. We hunted as a tribe. We survived as a tribe in a community. So find your band of brothers. But to find your band of brothers, you must put yourself out there, and you must have a set of core values that you can test another group of men against. And if they have your core values, get in that group. Don't be an island. Don't be a lone wolf, suffering in silence, white knuckling through life, and just desperately hoping that things will change.